Forward Progress right here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel, part of the Hammer Betting Network, and presented by Pinnacle Sportsbook. I am Rob Pizzola, joined for the first time this season by my partner in crime, Clive Bixby. How's it going?
What's up? Season 2, let's go.
Season 2, let's go. A little bit of a different format this year. I'll get to that really shortly here. But I do want to remind everyone, Pinnacle is the sponsor right here on Forward Progress. And what we're going to do over the course of this next hour to hour and a half is recap what we saw in week 1 of the NFL. But also right around this time will be when Pinnacle is posting lines for the upcoming week. Week 2, we'll break down those from an early perspective, which direction we think the lines are going to move in, whether that's side or total. We'll give our overall thoughts, and hopefully people can get some sort of actionable info. And the beauty of Pinnacle is that they are a sharp sportsbook. And some people might say, well, why would I want to bet into a sharp sportsbook? Well, because you can bet openers at a sharp sportsbook, and you do not have to risk them booting you or lowering your limits down the road. You get down whatever you want, and it's not used against you in the future. So if you are in Ontario, be sure to sign up to Pinnacle. Use code HAMMER. It does help support the show. It must be in Ontario, not available in the US. And of course, as always, please play responsibly. Last year, Clive, we did more of like a segmented type of show where we went full-on recap and then full-on preview. We'll try to just go through the games as they pop up on the board here very shortly. And for those of you in the chat, you can drop any questions you have at any time. We will get to them. We'll get to them over the course of the show.
They're already coming in.
They're already coming in. I'm not going to lie, Clive. I have a very love-hate relationship with the NFL over the course of the day. I definitely had a hate relationship with it when the Colts could not get in from the 1-yard line. And I definitely had a love relationship with it towards the end of the day today when a lot of the late results went well for me. How was your day overall?
So, weird week. You know, we always talk about transparency and being honest, never pretending to be something that we're not. I was traveling before, towards the beginning of the week, and then I got sick, and I was pretty much laid up in bed 3 or 4 days. Stupid rule maybe, but when I was younger, playing poker, made some bad decisions, impaired. So it's like, once I'm at a certain state, I'm out. So I'm in a pick'em league, went 8-3. Wish I bet those plays, but I think that stings more than not having any action at all. I think I would have rather lost.
So I had a decent week. I ended up in the green. Those who watched Pizza Buffet this morning would never believe that, because the plays that I gave out this morning, I think for the most part ended up in the red, which kind of sucks. And it's why I kind of recommend or preach betting earlier in the week whenever possible. But once again, just a reminder of like how many little things over the course of a day can just swing a play one way or another. And it just seems so random at times. But so many of the games today, like there weren't a lot of surefire wire-to-wire winners, right? Like there was maybe the Packers were one of them. The Browns were another one. But aside from that, and the 49ers as well. But aside from that, you pretty much had some sweat one way or another. And it's just like these crazy random plays over the course of the day that always have some sort of impact. But we're going to get into week 2 here, Clive, very shortly. And I think one of the topics of conversation we have to talk about, because it's going to be hotly debated, both from a college level, Colorado this week, destroying Nebraska, throw your priors out the window type of situation. Colorado's got like 80 new players type of situation. And we have to have that conversation in regards to the NFL as well. I know I've personally had a debate with Rufus on this before, where he's like someone who extends his priors deep into the season. I'm one that gets off of them a lot quicker than other people. How do you treat what you saw in week 1? Like, is it just that you consider everything an anomaly? Well, it could have been a bad game for a team, a good game for a team. We don't really know. Do you quickly move off of priors, or do you kind of just go with what you had before the season?
It depends on how ingrained I was in them previously. So if there's something with a lot of volatility, so if you have a prior on, I don't know, let's say Joe Burrow, right, today, did he have a bad game? Is he a little hurt? Yes. How far am I going to move off of that? Not much. if I had a prior on somebody with a rookie quarterback, say the Panthers, just making up a scenario, if somebody overachieves and overperforms, I'm a little bit less likely to move too hard off of that. If somebody underperforms significantly, whether it's coaching or something along those lines, I might be a little bit more inclined to move quicker.
Understood. I'm kind of in the same boat. Like for me, what do my priors matter on like what I thought Bryce Young and CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson were prior to the year? Like I'm going to learn way more from just watching them play one game today than I am, guessing what they're going to be before the season. It's the smaller sample size guys that typically I'm quicker to say like, no, maybe my previous assessment of this player was not correct.
So like the Seahawks is a team that there was 2 or 3 teams that I was probably a little bit further off market going into the year than everybody else. Seahawks was one and the Browns were another.
In which direction?
I'm lower on Seattle, whereas I think, the league kind of adjusted a little bit more to Geno Smith towards the end of the year. And I thought what we saw the last 6-7 games was more real Geno Smith. And I don't feel like the market was reflecting that. So I'm sticking with my valuation of that. And the Browns I had higher.
Okay. So so far through week 1, your assessment of those teams going into the year, you'd probably give yourself the Barry Horowitz pat on the back.
Yeah, but there weren't many other teams that I was so significantly off market on. Like I stuck with Russell Wilson last year too long in terms of my priors.
Right.
Because, just his pedigree, his background.
Yeah, I totally get it. I have the same challenge every year because as someone who like creates a number first by using math, you want to be able to try to trust that number as much as possible. And, I've talked to Eric Eager about this before. I've talked to Rufus about it. And I think we all agree that for us people, guys, gals, whatever, that are making numbers, at the end of the day, if we don't trust the number, we want to try to understand why and then try to build that into the model going forwards, right? Like if I don't trust this because of X, Y, and Z, let's figure out a way where I can build X, Y, and Z into the model going forwards so that I don't have to be like reliant on my gut, right? That's where you can kind of get into problems. But already in week 1, there's a lot of things that I see that just simply do not match my perception or my rating of a team going into the year. The Rams being one. Like you look at the quarterbacks today. There was this thing that went into today, like this angle, so to speak, of playing the team total unders or game total unders on quarterbacks that didn't play in the preseason. So that was like Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, Kirk Cousins, Matt Stafford. And I'm like, Matt Stafford was like slinging it today, like vintage Stafford. And how much of that
with no Cooper Kupp?
It was remarkable. Now, like some of it was scheming because there was guys wide open, but like, I don't know. I'm going to get into situations this week where I'm sure I'm going to spit out a number next week that is probably anti-Rams because I was anti-Rams going into the year, but it's going to be very hard for me to actually pull the trigger there because I thought they played a really good game today. So this is like, to me, the most incredibly challenging point of the year. Like later on in the year, we're going to have like tons of data points, right? From like 8 regular season games, and we can just trust that data. But now it's completely different.
Yeah, there's so many rookie quarterbacks or quarterbacks with new teams who have like less than 5 starts with their team even. I mean, and then you look at coaching. The team that I was wrong about the most today was actually the Steelers. And I'm not sure if I want to adjust my prior on them or just really make this a bad game.
Well, so I'm in the same boat as you, right? Because I'm high on the Steelers going into the year. I people know this about me by this point, but I'm a Kenny Pickett stan. Like I thought he was a little bit underrated last year because of the amount of pressure that he took. He was horrible today. He stunk. But how much of that, like, and this is where you get into the interesting situation in week 1, right? How much of that was the Steelers being bad versus the 49ers being really good? We really don't have a way of knowing that.
Yeah, and that's where I think a little bit of instinct and feel comes in. I mean, there's a lot of science to it, but I think there's a little bit of art too when you're dealing with these small samples.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. Other teams that potentially like stood out today, whether that was good or bad, as like something that you didn't expect.
The Bears surprised me, but I think that was more as a fan than anything else. Unfortunately, the Vikings did not surprise me. I don't know if a lot of people are. I mean, the market moved pretty heavy today. I felt bad for Fabian because, you know, he put out a -4 just as, you know, the day was going to get started.
I
the
played
Packers
that. I played
me.
that at post as well. Like, I thought that moved too much. And honestly, like we can talk about, like I don't never want to be a results-based analyst, but the Vikings got off to a very, very good start, and they fumbled the snap twice, and Kirk Cousins threw an interception at the goal line, and it's just like, okay, I mean, 0-3 turnovers, and here we go. That's it. But I thought the Vikings actually played, like, oddly enough, they played so many games last year that they deserved to lose, and now they played a game where I thought they really deserved to win, and they ended up losing, and that's just, like, funny how football works like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing, is small samples, and that's why we don't get too caught up on records, and we look more at the underlying stats overall. You know, 13-1 Viking team or whatever the hell they were last year was not a good football team. They were pretty average. What do you think of this season, though, in terms of tiers? Because that's the way that I try to look at things, right? Like, and last year I thought it was super compressed in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this year it might even be more compressed with like a very tight, I don't know, call it 8 through 20.
Yep.
A bad 32 to 29 and a good 1 through 4.
I would agree with you with where I have the teams ranked now, but I think some of the teams that I have ranked 8 through 20 could skyrocket pretty quickly. Like one of those being Miami, another one potentially being Detroit, one of them being Cleveland. Like I think that there's some signs I've seen out of teams. I mean, it's only one game, but I think that inevitably I might be wrong on a lot of teams in the, like I have Denver in the middle tier, but after what I witnessed with Denver today, I would be surprised if they're a middle tier team by season's end. I know it's only one game, but it's one game against the Raiders, who have one of the worst defenses in the entire league. And Denver's trying to dink and dunk their way up the field like 3 yards at a time. So I would agree with what you're saying now, but we still don't know on so many of these teams. And I think that there's like a really high ceiling for some of these teams that are in the middle tier.
Yeah, I think Cleveland and Pittsburgh are the two teams in that middle tier that I was highest on.
Yep. Yeah.
But Miami did look good offensively today too. So that was a team that came out pretty strong.
For sure. Just a reminder, you can get in on the conversation through the chat. You have to be subscribed to the channel, so make sure you do hit that subscribe button, set notifications here on Forward Progress, and there's 154 of you in here right now. If you wouldn't mind, smash the like button. It helps people find this content in real time. The more people that find the content, the better it is for us. And obviously, I'd like to do this forever, but I can only do it forever if we're making some money and actually monetizing. So please help support the show through that. All right, producer Jason, we're going to get to it for this upcoming week. We were just talking about the Vikings, and the Vikings are taking on the Eagles on Thursday Night Football. Now, for those of you who watched Forward Progress last year, you'd know that myself and Clive, we tried to guess the lines more so than comment on the lines in real time. We've decided to go a different route today. The show is going to be bigger this year. There's going to be more people in the chat. There's going to be more people who find us organically that kind of don't know what's going on. And trying to like avoid spoilers on what the early spreads are is just not feasible anymore. So we're just going to switch it up to let's take a look at the lines and let's just give our immediate reaction to what we're seeing for next week. Only thing I want to say is myself as a bettor, I typically don't start betting till Tuesday in the week, sometimes Wednesday. So I'm not talking based off of what my actual lines are going to be, but I have a general idea of how this market works. And again, those of you who were here last year would probably vouch for that, as you got some like really good numbers in the early going by just playing whatever we thought the lines would go to or what the direction the lines that would go to. So let's get into it, Jason, and we'll bring up Vikings Eagles game one. So Eagles laying 7.5 on Thursday Night Football, and the total of the game is 48. And I'll throw it to you, Clive, but I personally thought that both of these teams' games today were misleading in the final score.
You saw more of the Viking games than I did. I only have seen stats after. So, I mean, I absolutely take your word for it. Like when I look at success rate for the Vikings, it was fine. it wasn't horrible. It wasn't indicative of a terrible, terrible game or anything like that. When I see what I thought it would have opened up at based on what my power rankings were before to what it is now, I think it makes sense because I think people probably going to knock down the Vikings a peg just for losing this game, maybe a half a point to a point. I would have thought this would have opened at 7, but 7.5, I think makes a lot of sense to me. I'm trying to think of which way it really should go. Like, is that an overreaction? I don't know.
So I was not, as someone who bet the Eagles today, I bet both these teams. So I watched the games. Minnesota got off to a very good start. But as I mentioned earlier, they had 2 fumbled snaps and they had a turnover in the red zone. They lost turnover differential by 3. And what happened was Tampa Bay, for once, Todd Bowles, like, where was this last year when you had Tom Brady? But in the second half, when the game was closer, they played up tempo. And that worked a lot better for Baker Mayfield because the first half, the Bucs offense was terrible. But yet in the second half, they were able to move it a little bit more. So I'd say that the Vikings had their chance in the early going to put the Bucs away. They didn't capitalize on it. And then from there on, it was kind of even. The Eagles, on the other hand, they go up 16-0 in the early going. They benefit from a pick 6 on like a little like lob pass that Mac Jones throws that gets deflected up in the air. But the Eagles' numbers were ugly. 4.1 yards per play. They only had 154 net yards passing. Their success rate as a team was 36. And like, it's a little bit worrisome because I kind of always wonder when you have, I don't want to call it a gimmicky offense, but the Eagles did a lot of things last year that were like innovative that not a lot of other teams are doing. And you come to the offseason and the Pats had like a whole offseason to prep for it, did a very decent job. And the Eagles struggled both sides of the ball, like really lucky 25-20 win. I can say definitely not deserving to cash that ticket on my end. I think that the Vikings will probably take money. And another thing here is that in the past, last season, the season before, how many times on game day did the Eagles just take in a bunch of money? And today they got faded incredibly hard. Now, granted, so did the Vikings, but I think that if anything, that this line's coming down towards 7.
Yeah, this is like we just talked about priors, and this is where I wonder, is this just a sloppy game 1? Is this a league-wide adjustment? Because who are the quarterbacks that were reliant on rushing the ball that did well today? Nobody?
Yeah, like really reliant on rushing the ball.
So I'm thinking Fields. I'm thinking, obviously, Jalen, Lamar. None of those guys did particularly well today. Like, is that something that the league prepared for all season? I don't know yet. I didn't watch all these games.
Well, generally speaking, as I think Clive's got some internet connectivity issues. We'll get him back in here. But generally speaking, the unders were like pretty hot today, right? In the sense that just not a lot of great offense. Like if we're looking at like a league average success rate for today, it was in the range of like 39%. Pretty horrible league wide for that. EPA wise, like average team is in the negatives as well. So ultimately, yeah, tough to say. I mean, this total right now, Jason, if we can get Pinnacle back up on the screen, I think was 48. Yeah. And like, typically speaking, I would call this like a dead nut over game. But with the scoring the way that it was today, it's like, I don't know what the market will see here in terms of a total in the high 40s, because there just weren't enough games in the high 40s. Like there just wasn't enough scoring that I can see the market wanting to just blast this over.
Yeah. Like the good offenses just didn't show up today, really. Like none of them did. Like other than the Dolphins Chargers, there was no other big scoring game. Jacksonville was, I guess, but
yeah.
Yeah,
but I mean the thing with Jacksonville is that like I'm not even sure we would call what they did today like a good offensive game either. I mean, they had 2 turnovers, negative EPA per play. Their series conversion rate was like 67%. But yeah, I mean, tough to say altogether. But
I would think this total goes down.
You don't think it goes down?
No, I said I would think it goes down.
Yeah, I would I'm thinking about the game logically in my head. Minnesota, no pass rush, no corners. I don't know. I feel like the Eagles' floor is pretty low, pretty high in this game in terms of points scored. They played last year. It was week 2, I think, as well. Pretty sure it was Monday Night Football. I bet the Eagles. They blitzed Kirk Cousins into oblivion. He could do nothing. So, yeah, that's a tough one. My guess is that this will close around 7. And if I would inclined to say which way the total's going, because 47 is a little bit more key, I would say that it drifts down, but I'm not necessarily sure I would agree with that.
Yeah, if it closed at 47.5, I think that would probably be where I would place the number myself.
Yeah. All right, we'll move on to the next game. Jason, if we can get the full board up on screen here as well. All right. Packers at the Falcons. Okay, interesting. Packers favored on the road, 1 point, total 41.5. I don't look at look-ahead lines. I've talked about this before because I don't really see the value in looking ahead at lines that have like extremely small limits. I would venture a guess if this game was played this week 1, and we hadn't seen either of these teams, the Falcons would have been favored at home. We've seen a shift here to the Packers favored by blowing out the Bears. I was not impressed with the Falcons today, but I'm not sure I want to step in front of the Packers yet because they kind of justified my preseason opinion of them with their performance in today's game.
Going to look at Jordan Love's EPA per play today was 0.55. He was great. He was amazing on third down. The Bears defense was terrible. Stupid penalties. Put the defense in some pretty bad spots too. I don't want to overreact to Green Bay. It was impressive, but this is the opposite side, right? Like when we were talking about priors before, I'm not going to completely overreact to a really good game, especially against what I consider a not good Bears defense.
Yeah, I totally get what you're getting at there as well. I'm kind of in the same boat of I don't really know what to do here. Atlanta did not impress today against Carolina at all, especially offensively. I don't think Kyle Pitts got a target until in the second half in this game. There was just a lot of things that were going on where Atlanta looked sluggish. They had 13 first downs in total today. They basically won because they generated 3 turnovers on defense, but the offense was stuck in the mud. And in a game that's so offensive nowadays in the NFL, I don't know that I'm ready to back Atlanta just yet off of this performance. Now the total's very low for an indoor game as well at 41.5, but we're getting the Falcons who just want to run the ball, have a much better defense. And normally I would almost always have some opinion on the over in these indoor games that are in a good environment basically. But I think Atlanta is going to be a pretty large under team this year if they continue to play like they did today.
I think that makes a lot of sense. Coming into this game, I had these two teams neutral on an even. Yep. Even on a neutral. Yeah.
Even on a neutral. Yeah.
It's been a rough week. So that's what I would have had, Matt. A 1.5 point adjustment. I just don't feel good enough to take either of these two teams.
Yep.
That said, 41.5. I don't know. I could honestly see this moving down, which is shocking.
Yeah. I think Atlanta, with their penchant to want to run, they don't trust Ritter. They want to run the ball. Yeah, that's and then as Jeff and LP predicts are bringing up in the chat, we do have some injuries as well. Aaron Jones pulled his hamstring on that touchdown run. He came up limp. Romeo Doubs made it through today. Christian Watson, we don't know if he's going to play. next week. I don't want to make any assumptions, actually. Like, we just don't know if he's going to be in the lineup or not after did not practices this week. I think Quay Walker got a concussion for Green Bay when he returned a touchdown late in the game, or at least like looked like he was a little bit woozy in that. So it'll be interesting to see where this one goes. But my gut is that it goes towards Atlanta. Not that I necessarily agree with that, just because of the way that, like week 2 is going to be deemed like overreaction week, right? That's just like the way it works. And I think if this was a week 1 game, Atlanta's almost certainly favored. Like you said, you have them even on neutral. I don't. I have Green Bay slightly better, but home field advantage.
More than I did coming into the season too.
Yeah, I think that was the case. All right, let's move it forward. Next game. I do have the Giants-Cowboys game up in the background to try not to distract myself. Yeah, it's just going to be – I hate the Giants. Hate the Giants. Hate the Drake. Colts and Texans. Wow, real barn burner. Texans -2 plus 104 at home. Click that see more there, Jason, just under the spread to see if there's alt. Yeah, so the -2 is basically like a -1.5. Yeah. And what do we have for a game total as well? It is 40. Do we know the status of Anthony Richardson yet? I don't know. He took a big hit at the end of the game, and then Gardner Minshew came in and just like pissed away the cover for them at the goal line. The most depressing time of the day for me today.
I haven't heard on Richardson yet. What was your thought on the Colts offense before?
I thought Richardson had the best game of the rookies. I don't think the offense was great by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, if the Colts did score a defensive touchdown, I mean, it was fine. There were some fourth downs where I was like, what the hell are you? The Colts went 1 for 5 on fourth down today. So short yardage, not the greatest for them altogether. I would say like overall, okay. Definitely some upside with Richardson going forwards. Whereas Houston was like the complete opposite, right? Like Houston's offense was stuck in the mud, but their defense kept them in the game for the most part. So typically speaking, I like to back the team with the better offense generally, but God, the thought of like, I honestly have no idea where this is going to go. I really don't know. My inclination is that Houston gets bet just because they're the underdog, and it's going to be like appealing to just bet the underdog in this game. But aside from that, I don't have a strong gut feel.
I don't either. I mean, 2 most likely rookie quarterbacks and 2 just really horrible teams. What was Pinnacle's line that you saw? -1.5?
Yeah, it's basically between 1.5 and 2, essentially.
Yeah.
Or between 1 and 1.5. Yeah.
I mean, I think the Colts are a slightly better team. So if this ends up as a pick, I think that would be pretty reasonable.
Yeah. Yeah. The fact that it's listed, LP Predicts says in the chat that Steichen said Richardson should be okay. The fact that it's listed probably indicates that he is. Or typically there might be some hesitation in posting an early line here. But no strong opinion here from me.
I think this goes under 40, though. I think the number probably goes down.
Yeah. If I had lined it today, I would have lined it at 40.1 personally. But with the scoring down today, it might be a little bit more interesting, let's say, going forwards. But yeah. All right. Should be good to go next week, Anthony Richardson. Next game on the board as we work through these, Tampa Bay and Chicago. Interesting one. Tampa laying 2.5. Wow, we really got the dredges of the league back to back here. Chicago looked horrible today. So 2.5, 43 opener. I mean, is there going to be an appetite for Chicago? I mean, like based off where the market ranked these teams going into today, I mean, this is an adjustment. It's quite a big adjustment. Yeah, I would say it's
on both sides.
Yeah. So I just don't know that there's going to be any appetite for anyone to bet Chicago at this point.
Yeah, I mean, They couldn't get off the field on third down. They played completely undisciplined. There was nothing positive to really see.
Yeah, I will say like the first half was not terrible for the Bears. It was the second half that the wheels just fell off. Like, I think they were up in success rate, yards per play at the half against Green Bay, and then just like complete disaster zone in the second half.
Yeah, well, you must not be liking what you're seeing above you.
Daniel Jones on the move is really frustrating me for sure.
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't have an appetite to take the Bears at all. 2.5 feels like an over adjustment, though. Like, to be honest, I think it does go back towards the Bears' direction, but I wouldn't have much interest. Like, if you tell me I can have 2.5 and the line's going to close 2,
Yeah, I would say that the most of the numbers guys, like if your process in betting the NFL is to like power rate teams and then just bet your numbers, your difference between power ratings, and you're going to have a play on the Bears next week. I think the other like matchup type guys, or maybe the film study type of people, might be in a different boat with Tampa Bay. I don't really have much of a feel on this. At 43, man, the Bears defense is horrendous. Like, it is so bad. I can't even tell you how many times today there's just wide open Green Bay players with no Bears defender within 10 yards. This is like the ultimate opportunity for Baker Mayfield. And if he can't get something going against this team, then like the Bucs offense is just a huge fade going forwards.
What would you have had this game? Oh, there we go. That's a good Cowboys result.
Oh yeah, nothing like a botched snap. Nothing like a botched snap.
What would you have had this game before this week?
Okay, so generally speaking, probably a little bit lower than market on Chicago. And I would have had Tampa small favorite.
Okay. Yeah, that's about right. I dropped the Bears about a point. Tampa, I really didn't move much, maybe a half a point up.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tougher with, honestly, for me, it's these are the games that are a little bit more difficult for me. There we go. Pick it up.
Oh, what did I miss?
Go. This is a blocked field goal. That's going to the house.
Oh.
That's going to the house.
Well, that's a 10-point swing. Oh, God.
Let's go.
I'm about to have internet issues.
Well, you know what? There was after Maher, the Maher spectacular in the playoffs last year. This is we needed a special teams break. We needed a special teams break. Good for you, Chris. You took the boys. Good
Decent
for you.
Snap. Yeah. Oh my God, he was just
right through,
untouched.
Okay. Let's move on to the next game here, which will be Kansas City and Jacksonville.
Oh, there's your extra point.
Christ almighty, man. Did you see how that kick was fluttering? Oh my God, man. I just can't. I think it's Brandon Aubrey, I think, is the kicker. Okay. Chiefs -2.5, -121. So very close to a 3, total of 51. Okay. And as Connor points out in the chat, 9-point swing in the Cowboys game. 9-point swing.
Yes. Apologies, Connor.
Jason, if you could pull that up one more time and just hit the see more under KC Jacksonville so I can see the conversion here. So we're basically at like a -2.75 type of number with KC on the road. I think KC is going to at least go to 3, if not potentially higher. So they do have the extra time to prepare. Likelihood that Travis Kelce is back is probably high in this situation. Jacksonville today, their right guard, Brandon Scherf, got hurt. It looked pretty bad. They had to call people onto the field right away. Their left tackle, Cam Robinson, is obviously suspended for 6 weeks. I think that I don't think people are going to you're not going to lose like market interest in the Chiefs at any point is kind of what I'm getting at, Clive.
No, I think you're right. I don't really adjust either team all that much this week. I think 3 minus 105 is probably maybe where it ends up, maybe 3 even. But that's, I think that the market's right. Like I don't have a strong inclination one way or the other.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you tell me Kelsey's playing for sure, then I feel better about obviously the Chiefs. But with what I know now, I think this number's not going to move a ton.
What was this spread in the playoffs last year? It was
6.5?
No, I think it was more.
8.5?
Yeah, I think it was like 8.5 or 9. Like this is, I mean, we're kind of in the. It's like a little bit of an adjustment, but yeah, I thought it was like in the 8.5, 9 range in the playoffs. Now, granted, home field advantage in the playoffs is a little bit more. It's not apples to apples comparison for sure, but
9.5. It closed, and it opened at Pinnacle. It opened 8 minus 8.
Yeah,
ish.
If I was more confident about the scoring conditions in the league right now, I would really like the over here. I don't like the Chiefs defense without Chris Jones. I don't like the Jags defense at all whatsoever. But again, it's very challenging for me to figure out where the totals are going to go next week. Like it was like this week, it was just like so much sharp action on all the unders, basically, right? So, like, what do you assume is going to happen next week when all the unders, not all the unders, obviously there was like Miami and the Chargers or whatever, but there were so many unders that hit today. People's opinions were reinforced. I think maybe the unders get bet again next week. And like naturally, maybe that's the way to go. If you like an under, you bet it early. If you like an over, you just wait type of situation.
Yeah, if this number drops, I'll have interest in the over. Like if this goes to, 50.5, 50, I think I would take a piece of that. And no, Scott, I'm not in Nish's basement. I had this background first. I want to be clear.
Yeah, I think Kanish did steal the background from Clive and claimed it as his own. But that's what Kanish does. He likes to ruffle feathers. He likes to ruffle feathers. He's a bit of a scumbag like that.
Yeah. I feel like this number should be higher, to your point. If this does drop, how many games were bad weather games this week? New England wasn't great. Cleveland wasn't good.
Yeah, but I wouldn't. It rained. Cleveland was the worst weather of the week.
Right.
But it was just like medium, moderate rain. Like there wasn't much wind. It was just like raining. Crazy. So I don't think we had a bad weather game for the most part.
Yeah, I guess I just don't have a good reason for as many unders as we saw. And maybe it is like the quarterback play in the preseason that everybody was working off of.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I don't have the context. Like, I'm not going to give out names because it's not fair for me to do that. But on Tuesday, I got sent a message from somebody who was basically like, can you help get down on all these games? And it was just like, okay, what do you want? And he gave me the under in every game. That same day, someone else messages who I typically cross with on betting, and they're like, let's do totals, and they gave 8 totals and they were all unders. So there was like very much and these are generally sharp people as well, so there was definitely like something out there. People saw something. Micah Parsons is so good, but people saw something that was leading to wanting the unders this week. And I don't know if that was just the quarterback angle or if there's some reason to believe that scoring will be suppressed in the early going. But there's nothing that comes to mind after watching the games today where I was like, oh, that makes sense. Like there was a lot of penalties. There was like, there was nothing that led me to believe. It just looked like sloppy offense, honestly, if I was of anything.
Yeah, unless there's also the young quarterback angle, unless that's something too. I mean, the only games that went over were what? Jacksonville, Indy, and Chargers, Dolphins.
Yeah. The condensed preseason. Like this is what we're saying, like Mickey says in the chat. That's the one that's like the angle that I think people are taking. And do we think that bleeds into week 2 now? I don't know. That's what's going to make it challenging with these totals, predicting where these totals are going to go. Yeah. All right. On to the next one. Actually, just to clear up on that, I do think that I don't want to say no scenario, because believe me, like there were a lot of closing numbers today where I was like, I probably would have said early in the week, like there's no way that this number is going to close where it did. And that happened in a lot of games, particularly Cleveland, Cincinnati would have been one that comes to mind. But I don't think the Chiefs are closing south of 3.
Full 3 or
yeah, I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be like 3 minus 110.
Okay, I mean, I could certainly see it. I don't think there would be much interest in Jacksonville, to your point, at any 2.5s, right? Like,
yeah, I mean, if you like Jacksonville, I say you wait. If you like KC, right, you bet it early. That's kind of my thoughts on it.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Next game is going to be the Chargers and the Titans. And wow, Chargers find a way to charge again. How does this team do it? Like, how do they do it? I need to know how the Chargers find the most ridiculous ways to lose. Like Jeff Feinberg, poor guy, man. That guy's like kidney, liver, whatever. The guy must have cirrhosis of the liver in his mid-30s because of the Chargers at this point. It's ridiculous. Like how they just like all their defensive players on the field. Well, guess what? They get torched for like 1,000,000 yards through the air. I just don't understand the Chargers team. I really don't get it. But they take on the Titans. The Titans, a team that I bet today. I'm hoping that I never have to bet again. But we are where we are here, which is at like a number that's, again, going to be between 2.5 and 3, like a Chargers minus 2.75-ish on the road. And, I mean, has there been much of an adjustment on that? Like maybe,
I give more credit to Miami than I do to, taken away from the Chargers. This seems shocking to me.
In the sense that you think that the Chargers number will go up? Like this, and they'll close as a bigger like,
yeah, I do.
So it's hard for me to I'm just going to find my words here before I try to, figure out what I'm going to say here. But like the Titans sucked today, and I'm not sure how many people realized it because it was so close. Maybe a lot of people did because Red Zone showed like all the interceptions and like the million woeful throws that Tannehill made. But I'm with you. Like, I think Miami is really good. And the Chargers played another road game at home. Like they always do. So friggin' loud with the Dolphins fans at the end of that game. I'd be surprised if this number closes south of 3 as well, but I don't want to say I'll be surprised because maybe there just isn't that much interest in the Chargers anymore. Like maybe people are just like, the Chargers always play close games. They always find a way to lose these close games. We're done type of situation. But I mean, I don't have a number on the game yet, but my first gut instinct is that I want to play the Chargers in some capacity here.
Yeah. My guess is that from the look ahead line, this moved probably in the Titans direction already.
Oh baby, CeeDee Lamb.
He was wide open.
Like no one anywhere near him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. Like I don't know. I don't if anyone does have like look ahead lines in the chat or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, they put up 34 on a Fangio defense. I get that, but Miami's defense, it is a Fangio defense, but it's like, it's not.
Personnel matters.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to get at. Injuries from that game today. Did the Chargers have anyone key that got hurt? I don't think so off the top of my head. I didn't see
any.
Tennessee had, oh my God, Christian Fulton right now. That guy got cooked about The Tennessee secondary is a disaster. Like, it is a disaster. The front seven is very good, but their secondary is a disaster. Yeah, I think the Chargers will take money in this game. The total will be interesting at 45. Yeah. Like, go back to last year and look at Tennessee's final. Get rid of his name eludes me, the backup quarterback. Get rid of his
Malik Willis.
Malik Willis. I was going to say Malik Hooker. I don't know. I couldn't remember his last name. The Malik Willis games, and look at the final scores, even with Tannehill, and the Titans just don't put up points. Like, they don't know how to score. What was red zone for Tennessee today? 0 for 3, like 3 field goals in the red zone. They 5 for 5 on field goals, but like they don't know how to score. I don't know how they like.
No, this is one where I could see Chargers covering by a lot and still going under. Just being honest.
Yeah. Yeah. Like a 27-13 type of game.
Yeah. Or worse. Like 3 field goals from Tennessee, and then that's maybe it.
I have to think a little bit more about this, but like the perception of these teams, I think, has changed a lot based off of like, okay, the Chargers lost to a very good Dolphins team. I know they gave up 1 billion yards. I get it. But are the Titans going to do that to them? I mean, the Titans couldn't move the ball on the Saints. Like, the Saints don't generate a pass rush. Did New Orleans register sacks today? Yeah, they did. But the Titans, 32% success rate on offense today against the Saints defense. The Chargers' success rate was 59%. 59%. Yeah.
This feels like a misreaction in the market.
I
don't bet a ton on Sunday nights, but I can see myself placing a bet maybe right after this.
Yeah. Interesting. All right. Next game, Seattle, Detroit. I don't even have to see the number yet. Before you even put it up on the screen, Jason, I know that this is going to skyrocket. Like, if I had to make a market price on Seattle, Detroit from this week, like going into this week, it would have been like Detroit -3. And now I'm interested to see what it's going to be when we look at it now. Okay, 6. Well, really a 5.5.
Yeah.
Like an in-between number. So yeah, we've seen a lot, or a 5, flat 5. In that type of range. So definitely some inflation here. With that said, maybe it's not inflation. Maybe it's more of an accurate price than like the look ahead was.
Well, for me, like I said, Seattle was a team that I was significantly worse. Did they just not convert on 4th? Is that what I just saw?
No, it was third. That was third. They're going to kick a field goal now. Yeah. Yeah, like Detroit. Okay, extra prep for Detroit. This is a great. Like, we look at Brian's comment, right? Seattle got lit by Tutu Atwell and Puka. Like, yeah, they just not only like. I'm gonna watch this game back in full tomorrow. I've already marked down the games that I want to watch in full. This is definitely one of them because I didn't catch a lot of it in the late window today. I was rooting more for the Raiders and the Eagles and the Packers. So this one, didn't get a lot of my interest. I had to play on the over, which honestly I thought was going to hit because the Seattle offense. But the Seahawks fucking suck today, man. Like, they might suck.
I think they do, but I mean, I've been wrong before. Would be the first time. I'm like 2. I was about 2 points worse than market on them.
Right.
So this kind of represents that.
And that's a great point, Jake. Like, Seattle lost their starting left tackle and right tackle today as well. Like, like maybe that's not the biggest issue against Detroit because Detroit's not the best pass rushing team in the league, but Charles Cross, Abraham Lucas both left the game.
Well, if this was last year, they played last year, and I think the total was some sort of astronomical number, and they went well over it. I don't see that happening again just because I think Seattle's offense is that bad, and that was before they lost both their tackles.
I don't know if I told you this. I don't know if I told this story on Forward Progress or if I told it on any other media that I did. But a friend of a friend is known for giving out one player every year. He says, go and buy this player's rookie card. And he tends to have a really high success rate. And he goes like off the radar type of thing. So last year, he told us to go and buy Geno Smith rookie cards. Geno Smith comes out of nowhere, has a great year. They shoot up in value. This year, he comes and says, go buy Drew Lock rookie cards because Geno is going to have a horrible year. and Drew's going to come in and save the day. And like, I know it's only one game, and I think Drew Lock sucks. So like, and I didn't buy Drew Lock rookie cards, but I was thinking about that for a lot of the game today.
Yeah.
I don't know, like a lot of the offseason we like talked about, and when I say we, like, I'm also lumping myself into that, like about how maybe Detroit's not all that good, and the perception of them is a little bit overrated or like a little bit too high. They beat KC week 1. Like their stock is going to be about as high as it possibly can be. So typically I don't want to play a team at that number. And typically the market doesn't either, from what I find, like what I've known to be the NFL betting market over time. But there's part of me that just thinks Detroit is actually very good and Seattle might be very bad. And you might look at this game at the end of the year, and if this number is going to be around like 4.5, 5, and be like, holy shit, what a bargain that was with Detroit at home.
Yeah, like you might get towards like the point where this should have been 8.5 or 9.
Or maybe it's just one game and Detroit played at the upper level of their range and Seattle played at the lower level of their range.
Well, what was your thought on Detroit's defense, right? Like the pick six was whatever, fluky.
Yeah.
But like, did you think the Detroit defense overall played much, much better than last season? Because that was their, obviously, Achilles heel, doesn't even cover it, but they were terrible. I didn't see anything that makes me think that they were that terrible. Like, where do you put them as opposed to being the worst defense in the league last year, roughly, like in the lowest tier?
So I
middle to 2/3.
I had Detroit going into this week's game as the 25th best defense in the league.
Yeah,
I think they're probably closer to like 16 to 20.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, they held Mahomes to 40% success rate. Like Mahomes he didn't have a lot in that game against them. I think it was, man, the Cowboys.
Negative EPA per play.
Is
How many times did you say that about Mahomes?
Gino had a cottage 11-10. Gino had a 50 success rate today, and watching the game, I thought it was about 20. Did he have a 50 success rate? I don't know why. The Seahawks offense was a 47 success rate. EPA tells a much different story. I agree. Yeah. I mean, they ran 46 offensive plays, 3.9 yards per play. They had 95 net passing yards in the game against the Rams. The Rams have Aaron Donald and nobody. I don't know, to go out on the road, extra time to prepare. My thought is honestly that the market will back Seattle and that it's a mistake.
I'm kind of with you there.
What was the total we saw in this game? Was in the 50s? 51? Ouch. It feels to me like a game where Detroit's going to score 35 points.
Yes, and it's just a matter of how much do you think Seattle's going to be able to muster on offense.
Exactly, because they just scored 13 against the Rams. I don't know.
And that's specifically why I asked you about the Detroit defense, because I think that's the predominant factor of where this game should end up.
Yeah. LP predicts says if the Chiefs catch the ball, they cover versus Detroit. That is true, but I still think that Detroit showed me enough in that game that they're like, I at least I'm second guessing my opinions of Detroit coming into the year.
Uh-oh.
Hello.
Oh, God, the luck wagon.
Hello. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Look at this logo. This thing's actually heavier than I thought. It just sits on the desk all the time.
What is happening? How many deflection pick sixes have we seen this week? I'll
tell you what's happening. The best team in football is playing like the best team in football.
Come on now. Oh, Saquon.
Oh, man. If only Tyler Smith and Tyron Smith weren't on the injury report all week, this would have been like
a huge play for you.
Yeah. It turned into like us still taking a small position, but yeah. Cowboys defense, it's for real.
I didn't understand this number. I thought it should have been bigger, but whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. For those of you in the chat, if you don't mind, smash the like button. Helps people find the content. Takes you 2 seconds. Don't leave me hanging. Don't leave me hanging. Yeah, Dallas front four is absolutely dominating. You're right, Vinny. And the Giants' offensive line outside of left tackle leaves a lot to be desired. Next game. This one will be interesting. Ravens and Bengals. So again, we got like another in-between line. If we rip that see more button there, I think we're at like between 2.5 and 3. Yeah. We're in like that 2.75 range. So Cincy not a full 3, which doesn't surprise me after their performance today. I think had they even just played like a close game today, the line just opens up 3.
I agree.
This will be a very interesting one because this is like one of the worst games Joe Burrow is ever going to play in his life. I don't think that there's going to be from a when I say public perspective, I'm talking about just like the average person. The average person's going to want to bet Baltimore in this game. Like there's nothing they could have possibly seen today from the Bengals that's going to inspire any sort of confidence. And we know that the average fan is just like lives game to game. So I could see this developing into like a sharp versus square type of game where people are referencing like bet percentages later in the week and whatever. What I will say is that if the Ravens weren't playing the Texans today and they played another team that actually has an offense, they would have lost because the Ravens offense was not very good. 4.6 yards per play, 41% success rate. Lamar took a bunch of sacks. They only had 155 net passing yards, and like probably 75% of that must have been to Zay Flowers because that guy was all over the field today. But really not in sync. It's just that Houston could not take advantage of the Ravens defense. The Ravens defense, when they play good offenses, I think they are going to be in trouble. Like Marlon Humphrey's out for 4 weeks. Marcus Williams got injured today. Ronnie Stanley and Tyler Linderbaum, both offensive linemen for the Ravens, left tackle and center, got injured today. I feel like this is a decent buy price, and J.K. Dobbins as well, torn Achilles. This is a buy price for the Bengals almost.
Yes. I'm hoping if this somehow gets to a 2.5, I don't think it will. Maybe it does, but I mean, what is it right now? -3 even money?
Yeah, it's like, -3 plus 102 is the Pinnacle number.
If this somehow gets bet early in the week to 2.5, like I will take Cincinnati immediately.
Yeah.
And I still might take Cincinnati at -3.
Yeah. It's like I think there's just, like I said, like I just think there's going to be a big appetite for the Ravens this game because the Bengals were so poor today. But it's almost like I just feel like you just throw that game out the window and just pretend it didn't.
I do, and I think I give a little bit of credit to Cleveland's defense and their their pass rush and what they were able to do. Like that's okay. You're going to have those types of games, and I was a little lower, not hugely lower, but a little lower than market on Baltimore this season too. So I don't know if Mark Andrews is playing next week. If he doesn't play and Dobbins isn't playing, like I don't feel like that offense is really going to get much going. So
because Andrews was like questionable this week, my gut is that he'll play next week overall. I think Mark, like I agree with Mark's point here, right? Like Ravens will be fine, new offense, no Andrews today was huge. I do agree with that. And since he's like living off of, I mean, I wouldn't say they're living off of fortuitous playoff runs. Like they were really good last season. The year before was a fortuitous, like the Super Bowl run from 2 years ago where they lost to the Rams. That was just a fluke. Like the Tennessee 9-sack game and whatever, like that was just a lucky run. They could have lost to the Raiders in the first round. Fucking Derek Carr threw short of the goal line on the 4th down of that game. Like, so I agree. I think the Ravens rating will increase as the season goes on, as the defense gets better and as the offense like under a new offensive coordinator, gets more in sync and everything. Oh man, this is embarrassing for the Giants right now.
I can't believe this is only the first quarter.
The Bengals were really good last year. Here's the one thing I do know. They don't get much market support ever. Cincy this year, last year, the year before, they get faded so regularly that I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if this game closes under 3. I just feel
that's
like
why I think in this case it's good for me to wait. Because I do like the Bengals. Bengals was one of the teams. I'd have to check my numbers from last year of what my record was betting them, but I think they were one of my more frequently bet teams last year.
Yeah. Yeah, this is going to be an interesting one. Total's 45.5. Any early thoughts on that number?
Feels high.
Mm-hmm. It does. Now, the thing is, Baltimore wants to play fast.
They do, but I don't think they'll do it successfully.
Mm-hmm. Like, this is a good point, too. There's another good comment. All the hef. Bengals O-line will hold up much better than Houston's did. Think since his pass game will click. Houston was able to get some going when Stroud had time. I agree. Like, Houston has a bad O-line. They didn't even know who the starters were going to be going into this week. Bengals... Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm just talking myself into it. I have to do more work on this game and hope my number gets there as well. But when we talked at the beginning about like the priors, right? And like, when do we throw the prior out the window? I'm not throwing my Joe Burrow Bengals prior out the window at any point. Like, we have a pretty large sample of him being very good and the offense being very good. I would consider this way more of an anomaly than anything else. But they did get off to a slow start last year. And it did take them a while to get going last year as well.
They do struggle historically offensively, too, against Cleveland. Like, that has been – I mean, I've seen totals drop, I think, the last 4 times they've played each other dramatically.
Yep. All right.
I don't know where this closes for a total. I mean, 44.5?
Well, the thing is, I don't know either because it's in the dead zone, right? Like, it's between 44 and 47.
Right.
I would so both Cincy and Baltimore today got bet down. But how much of that was because Lamar didn't play preseason and Burrow didn't play preseason? I don't know. But my guess is that this is going to get bet down.
I think
that's
so
my
too.
feeling. That's my feeling. I think if you like the under, you act now, especially with the way that all unders, happen this week and whatever. That would be my opinion. In the comments, let us know what you think of the new format this year and if there's anything that you'd like to see changed. We do value the feedback. For those that watched last year, we try to incorporate it as much as possible. If you don't want to comment now, you can comment on the video after the fact as well. If you're listening to this on Monday in audio form, just let us know through Twitter at Forward Progress HQ on Twitter or at the Hammer HQ on Twitter. Okay, next game. San Francisco 49ers, who looked unreal today, at the Los Angeles Rams. I call this a soft 7. I don't know what the actual terminology is for this, but I actually just always grew up calling it like the soft 7 or whatever. It's, again, in between number, right? It's if you like San Fran, you could take a -6.5, -115. If you like the Rams, you could take a +7, -114, or in that range. Definitely, I think the Rams garner much more respect after today's performance against Seattle. Stafford looked good, but the 49ers are a machine.
They looked incredible.
Like there's nobody's going to want to bet against the 49ers next week. It's got to be like they're a team. There's every year there's these teams where I'm like, I need to get like I'll call it like an egregious number to bet against them type of situation.
Yeah.
But I don't know what to do. It's really hard for me to just upgrade the Rams now because, like we've both talked about, Seattle could actually be bad. But let's look. Go ahead.
7. What would you have had this on a neutral before? I think I would have had it near 7 to 7.5 on a neutral.
So on a neutral, let me see what my neutral my rating. And again, like this is just pure power ratings. I do like to simulate the games because I think like some teams play better styles against, like styles make fights type of thing.
Yeah, of course.
But my difference between the teams on a neutral, going into today, was in the range of 7 points on a neutral. So like the Rams home field is worth not a lot, but like in the range of 1 to 1.5.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I'd say going into today, line should have been like 5.5, 6. And now we see 7, which is an important number in the NFL.
I can't see the Rams getting a lot of support. I'm wondering if this goes past 7, it just is an overreaction to the 49ers.
Yeah. Like
I can't see myself getting a number to take the Rams. It's just how far I think will it go.
Well, the thing is here too, then you get into like teaser range.
True.
So if the 49ers get bet, I don't think there's much stopping this number from going up to like 9.5.
True.
Because you just end up in like the 7.5, 8, where now every single person teases them. Right? I that's my like, yeah, Shanahan tends to dominate McVay. Public going to be all over the 49ers. I mean, it's going to be a tough one because I already see it happening. But like, I'm going to have an edge probably at some point this week on the Rams. And I would imagine again, like the numbers guys are going to. It's just going to be a matter of whether I want to actually put my money there.
I mean, Brock Purdy looked pretty flawless today.
Yeah. Yeah, like the Steelers defense isn't like anything to write home about, but they have a pass rush. Yeah. That's
TJ Watt made a couple of plays that, if the ball bounces a different way,
yeah.
But offensively, they were pretty guys wide open, throwing it, catching in stride.
Man, if you told me, though, that the Rams were going to hold the Seahawks under 100 yards net passing, I would have laughed in your face. Like it's unreal.
Yeah, and then somebody asked in the chat about the total of 42. This is I just don't see. I think Stafford, like when you say matchups make fights, I don't see any kind of positive offensive performance for the Rams. Like I could see this as a game that gets out of hand.
The O-line had been a problem for them in years past in these matchups a lot, and they really struggled. I don't like so I bet the San Fran Pittsburgh over today. I thought that was super unlucky not to get that. We had like basically a full quarter to try to get a garbage time score from either team. Didn't get it. The 49ers, how many? They scored 30 today, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I believe now this is small sample. I think it's 7 regular season games, 6 last year, the 1 this year under Brock Purdy. They've scored 30 in every single one of those games.
Mm-hmm.
And you're going to have a total at 42. I know the defense is great, but they score all the time. Like it's a very, very efficient offense. So
it is. I'm trying to reconcile how many, Pickett terrible plays, turnovers, etc., field position, all that stuff. Like
pure pain is what I like to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like at 42, what are we saying the game's going to be?
42.
24-17.
Yeah.
24 and a half, 17 and a half.
Exactly. Yeah.
It feels like an over.
Doesn't it? Oh, man.
Kind of does.
There's been
it's just a matter of if you think the Rams are going to be able to move the ball, because I think San Fran scores 28.
Like Mark, great comment from Mark. Stafford is the backdoor first ballot Hall of Famer. 100%. Like this is the thing. Well, so like imagine they get into a scoreline like today, where it's like 30-7, 49ers. Instead of relying on Kenny Pickett to backdoor it. You got Stafford leads those backdoor comebacks. And I think there's a lot of scenarios where this game is like kind of out of hand, but even the 49ers, they didn't sit on it today for most of the game. Like they were still trying to score. I don't know. It seems like a low number to me, but if we go back, I'm sure if we were to go back to last year, I think these games, the San Fran Rams games got bet under pretty consistently.
Oh, they did. They absolutely did. McCaffrey had a good game. Samuel really didn't.
No,
okay.
Ayuk was great.
Yeah.
Great route runner.
Yeah, and he was found open a lot. Yeah, I mean, I can't see taking the Rams, even though, like you said, quote unquote, power ratings would say that I should. I think there might be value at the 49ers at -7 even money.
Okay. Move it on. Washington at Denver next week.
Two teams I don't want to watch.
And two like wholly unimpressive teams. Glad I bet against Denver today and kind of stuck with my gut about how like Sean Payton is just not going to rejuvenate the whole team. Little bit of luck, missed field goals, like all sorts of shit happened in that game. But ultimately, I mean, the Denver offense what looked like tough sledding for the entire game against a very bad Raiders defense. Line is 3.5, which is kind of where I expected it to be. Okay, definitely not going to be an appetite to bet Washington because they almost lost to Arizona today. And how many people had them in their survivor pools and probably shat their pants. But
yeah,
like we're kind of in just the same territory of this week where who's better, Washington or Las Vegas?
The market would have said Washington, but I'll take Garoppolo and Vegas. I know their defense is trashy, but
but to your point, the market probably would have said Washington. So how does this number not come back to where the Broncos Raiders was today at 3? Like right. Washington has to be the side here from a market perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I think you probably could downgrade both of these teams, but you probably downgrade them equal amounts.
Yeah, like, I mean, there was a
lot of the under 40.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to. That's if Washington is going to average 3.8 yards per play against Arizona's defense, and like Sam Howell was coming under fire in this game, 39% success rate. I don't think that leaves me too optimistic about their prospects going forwards. I honestly feel pretty confident that Washington and under will take money in this game.
I think so too.
That's not saying I would want to bet Washington in the under, although the under does interest me a little bit.
The under interests me too.
I have to watch the full Washington-Arizona game as well. It's on my list of because I didn't catch much of that. I didn't have a rooting interest in it other than a survivor rooting interest in it. But from what I did see, Howell did not look great. But you're in a situation where, you need Russell Wilson to win by margin to cover your bet as a Broncos bettor. Who wants to do that?
I mean, if you can't put any kind of semblance of a good game against the Cardinals at this point, I don't know what to do for you. Like that's.
Yep. I'm with you.
Do not watch it. Don't.
With that said, there is a possibility that Jerry Jeudy could play next week for Denver, which would be an upgrade to their offense because from a receiving perspective, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Mims, who else is there? Philip Dorsett, Brandon Johnson. Like this is a pretty rough core. So Jeudy would be a pretty decent upgrade for them.
I'm just looking at the numbers from the Cardinals Commanders game, and boy, is it ugly.
It was rough, man. It was very, very rough.
So I will say, I'm enjoying the format of us doing it like this, but that is the one thing that we weren't able to do that we were last year by starting at 9:30 is we can look through some of these numbers a little bit before and kind of prep a little bit more, but it's kind of fun looking at them in real time.
Yep. Yeah, it's the exact same thing I have to do. Is like I have to evaluate box scores in real time and then but okay, so like Denver in particular, I watched a lot of the game. There were I mean Denver's EPA numbers, success rate numbers, they do not match what I watched. I don't know like how to describe it, but they just don't align with what I saw from that game. Bro, the Cowboys turn over the Giants again.
There's a flag, but I don't know what the flag's for.
Oh, man. All right. I think we're in agreement here anyways, and I don't really want to spend more time on either of these teams. So,
no, I'm going to be interested in the total.
Okay. Yep. I'm kind of with you. I think yeah. The style of the Broncos offense is conducive to unders. There's nothing downfield. It's like pick up 3-4 yards. What is Daniel Jones doing? Parsons just chasing him, and I don't know why he thought he could just throw across his body. Anyways, I'll take it. Was that a catch? Well, we're going to see.
Looked like the ball hit the ground, but he might have had control as it hit the ground.
It's possible. Sunday Night Football next week is the Patriots and the Dolphins. A little AFC East showdown. Miami -2 on the road. And total is 46.5. Patriots lose, but I will probably upgrade them because their offense looked surprisingly not inept. In fact, I would say good at like they got down 16-0, and maybe it was a little bit of like scored effects that forced them to get into this situation where they had to pass, but like offense looked somewhat good.
So I had this game on with the Bears game. And I mean, Mac Jones still has propensity to do some dumb shit, but
he doesn't have an arm either. Like his arm is weak.
But that being said, I think the team can move the ball. The Dolphins defense is not anything, to write home about either.
Right.
So, I mean, I could see both teams putting up scores in this game.
Although
the Patriots defense played pretty well today too. So,
yeah,
I don't know if that's gimmicky because they're playing a gimmicky kind of Eagles offense or not, but it's interesting. The market's going to upgrade Miami today, I think.
I think you have to. Like that's what I was going to say. Like, I think from a box score perspective, the Patriots, like from an expected points, deserve to beat the Eagles. But who's going to, Miami went to Dak missed that throw. Miami goes to the Chargers to LA and they win. Like they put up like offense. People will remember that. I don't know, man. I honestly don't. The Patriots for the last year, first game this year, they tend to get market support. I don't necessarily agree with it a lot of the times, but this number can't go to 3.
Mm-hmm.
It can't because there'd just be too much. There would be buyback on the Patriots at that point. It's got to just like hang around in this no man's land. I just kind of think like where we are here is just where we're going to be all week. And you just make up your mind as to whether or not you want to play the number in this range.
Yeah. And then the totals in this like weird in-between area, like whether or not, like really good offense, good defense, and mediocre offense against a terrible defense.
Great point by Brian in the chat. Like Pat's offense was better under Bob today, Bill O'Brien, than any game last year. It's true. Like upgrade the Patriots offense maybe because they actually have a real offensive coordinator now that's like not Matt Patricia anymore. And the Miami like offense is what did Miami do in this against New England? I need to see Tua's numbers against. There's something about Belichick. Yeah. Like I can tell you what the Patriots are going to do on defense. They're going to double cover Tyreek Hill all game because he put up like 220 yards today. And they're going to make everyone else on Miami beat them. It's going to be a big Jalen Waddle game.
The second time they played was Bridgewater and Skylar Thompson. Who's the other
yes. Teddy Bathwater.
one? I'll find the other one. I thought Tua played well that game, but I might be misremembering.
Yeah, Charles says he only played the one game last season versus the Pats. He missed the second one in New England. Oh, yeah. Cowboys in the end zone. You know what that means.
Week did they play? Might have been week 1 they played last year.
That sounds about right.
It was.
That sounds about right.
Good God, New York. I mean, I don't. Wow.
So Charles mentioned it right here. Waddle 8 last year versus them in game 1.
20-7.
I don't know. I don't know what to do here. I think from a spread perspective, it will hang around in this range. There's like a large margin for error for like these predictions because it's week 2 of the season and I have no friggin' clue at this point. But it feels like a fair number to me. It feels like a market number that I can see the argument for both sides. And I don't even know what the total. Like it's in like that dead man's zone of like off a key number. It probably goes up. Like it's probably one of the few ones that goes up. Just because there was like 1 million points in the game that they played that the Dolphins are a pure over team. Even with Fangio. Their defense stinks. Their offense, like, watch the Dolphins-Chargers game. If anyone has time this week, maybe you don't have time to watch a full game back or whatever, but try to accelerate and watch that game.
They have condensed games on NFL Premium.
Exactly. There you go. Watch a condensed game. The Dolphins receivers were running wide. They were schemed wide open everywhere. Like I've never seen anything like it. Like, and I'm not the Tua made some amazing throws. He made one on the run to Tyreek Hill that like he made some great throws where he had to drop it in there. But there were so many like the offense is going to be very good. Like they were of such a good offense with Tua last season. I think this total is going to go up. You seem to disagree.
I'm feeling like it goes the other way. It feels high
for a Patriots game.
For a Patriots game, and I don't know if it's that I think the Patriots defense is going to do a much better job. I mean, the Eagles would have put up how many points today without like some of the fluky crap?
It's a good point by Scott in the chat too about if they weren't down 60-0 early, they probably just run the ball.
Right. Like that's kind of what I'm thinking. Like, does this turn into one of those games where it's, I don't know.
But even then, like if they are going to run the ball, like they're going to have success running the ball on Miami.
They'll have some.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an interesting one. Everybody were reacting right off of week 1. We barely get to see anything. And, my first instinct says it goes down a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Let's cover the double Monday nighter. Starting with the early, like the scheduling here. Why is there overlap with these games? Why? Why
is there double like in week 2? They normally didn't they used to do that in week 1?
No, I think it happened last year in week 2 as well. There was Eagles Vikings. If anyone in the chat has any clue why they do this, you're gonna have to let me know.
Talk about a game the first game I have zero interest, but I don't understand the overlap either.
Okay, Saints and Panthers, first game. Saints -3, total of 40.5. Okay, my thoughts are, what in God's name are the Saints doing laying 3 points? That's my immediate thought.
Same. On the road to anyone.
What like, are the Saints upgraded?
Or do you just or are the Panthers that far downgraded?
Or the Panthers downgraded because the Panthers offense sucked. DJ Chark was out this week. JC Horn got injured, which is kind of a big thing for them as well. So it's not like the greatest, but do you have confidence in the Saints winning by 4? I don't know. Like this,
I have them as like, I'm a little lower on the Saints in the market. Carolina, like, I would have had to drop Carolina like a 1.5 to get to this number to take the Saints -3.
Yeah.
This feels like this should go towards the Panthers, and Panthers, 2.5.
Yeah. So listen, the Panthers had a bad game today. The offense was not good. It was Bryce Young's first career start on the road. Bad EPA per play, negative 0.26 as a team. Success rate, oddly enough, was actually higher than the Falcons' success rate, but not great. They just didn't pass the ball well, and they probably won't under Bryce Young. But the Saints were like equally not good on offense.
So the Saints were 3-point favorites. Well, at even money today at home versus Tennessee. How much worse is Carolina do you have than Tennessee?
That's what I like. How much worse did I have Carolina than Tennessee going into today? I don't know, about 1.5 points.
Yeah, I'm 1.25. So similar. Like, this just feels inflated and probably should be 2.5.
Yeah, I'm with you. I typically don't look at a game and be like, what is this? This was like a what is this type of moment for me. I don't like Carolina, people. I don't. But I guess I also don't like New Orleans enough to say like they justify this price tag. Monday night football game, Carolina. That's very different Bryce Young at home in that game than it is going out on the road in your first start. And the Saints defense doesn't generate pressure either. Like they didn't last year. They didn't bring in pass rushers in the offseason. It's pretty much like the scenario you would want as a rookie QB.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints couldn't put up any points today. So, like, 40.5 feels close to the right number. I don't think it gets bet up, though. Maybe it closes 40.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. The total feels good to me.
Yeah.
The total feels good. Final game, the second of the 2 Monday Night Football games, is an NFC North showdown. Cleveland Browns on the road at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Pittsburgh getting 2.5 at home. And the total is 42. And again, this is a big correction, I would say. Like, if this game was played today, I'm guessing the Steelers were a pick, if not a small favorite.
Yeah, because they were at home, they would have probably been a small favorite.
The problem is the Steelers absolutely sucked today.
They did.
But
and I could see Pickett really struggling next week too.
Okay, let's see injury-wise.
Oh, God. Daniel Jones, what are you doing?
Oh, how did we not pick that? All right. No, it's okay. Deontay Johnson hurt his hamstring. I'm almost certain he's going to be out because he was down on the ground holding his hamstring. So that did not seem like a good situation. And Cameron Hayward had a groin injury, left the game, came back, and then left the game again. So you're going to be missing 2 key figures for the Pittsburgh offense and defense. That matters. Got to be factored into the line.
What were the Pinnacle numbers? Like when you pull down -2?
It's basically a 2. The number is a 2.
Okay.
2 and 42 is the number.
Got it.
I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, I almost feel like
49ers were given 2. Are we giving Cleveland the same?
The 49ers were giving 2. Did it go back up to? It was less than 2 by close, no?
By close, yeah, it was.
Yeah. So this is what I'm saying, right? Like, well, the Giants already have to go for it. This is really sad. I do want to watch timeout. Okay, so you know what's going to happen this week, right? Like the talking heads are going to be like, overreaction to this, overreaction. I think Pittsburgh's going to take money at this price. I definitely think the injuries are impactful, big time. But like, I bet Cleveland today. I watched Cleveland today a lot. Deshaun Watson was not good.
No.
Made some good plays, but like, I don't know what happened to his arm strength. It ain't there.
So many underthrown bad, like this game could have gotten completely out of hand if he would have hit 2 or 3 more throws.
Like, let's be real here. The Browns won because their defense forced 2 turnovers. Their defense has played amazing, really, is why the Browns won. Like, yes. Deshaun Watson just had to not fuck the game up, basically. This is tough. Interestingly, Penny's price is off market. That is interesting. It's interesting that the entire market didn't just copy it. Oh, that was a great play by Daniel Jones, actually. Got to give him credit for that one. I think Pittsburgh's going to catch money.
Yeah, I mean, I could see this being 1 or 1.5 Cleveland, but other than that, I don't think it should be much more than that. I think 2 or 2.5 is too much. Mm-hmm. I think it's going to be a matter of how, because Pittsburgh played the way that it did today, like, what is market sentiment really going to look like? Who's going to want to put money down on Pittsburgh after seeing Cleveland play the way that they did today? You know, again, right. 1 game sample, but
yeah. So Pinnacle's taken kind of a stance on Cleveland so far relative to the rest of the market, which is interesting.
Or hates Pittsburgh.
Yeah, like that. Yeah, kind of. That's what I'm getting at, one way or another. Low total, but maybe like I would.
Total looks like it's off market too. Not everywhere, but I mean, it's the lowest on the board
at 42, right?
Yeah.
I could see an appetite for the under in this game from a lot of people as well. I wouldn't be surprised if this goes down to 41.
I totally agree.
Key number there. Cleveland offense kind of looks inept. Probably want to run the ball a lot. Pittsburgh offense did not look like the air raid offense that we were, that at least I thought that they were going to look like today.
No, this game feels like it's going to be a grind. It's going to be tough to get yardage in chunks. They're going to run the ball. They're going to. I see some numbers that are higher than 42 that look very appealing.
Yeah. All right. That's it. We've covered all the games on the board. Don't know anything about the Dallas and the New York Giants openers for next week yet. Dallas plays the Jets at home. I'd imagine Dallas is going to be at least, well, we don't know because the Jets play tomorrow against Buffalo. We have no idea what that's going to look like. But
I think Dallas is probably going to get upgraded slightly in the market regardless. It's just a matter of what the Jets do.
Exactly. Totally agree with you. Appreciate everyone who tuned in tonight. Again, we'll be live every Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern time throughout the football season. But we got a lot of content right here on Forward Progress. Tomorrow is going to be 2 p.m. Eastern time, live show. G-Stack George with Suma and Clive TA. They're going to go through all their takeaways from this week, any early bets or targets they have. They'll break down the full Monday night football game and discuss the futures market a little bit as well. You see the schedule up on screen, but we have content 2 to 3 Eastern time every single day, Monday through Friday. And tomorrow night over on the Hammer HQ YouTube channel, I'm back. Monday Night Football watch-along. I'm doing watch-alongs for every Monday and Thursday night football game this season. So you can tune in with me. We do have some guests in tomorrow, including Eric Eager, and we will be watching along for those games. Also, this is always going to be in podcast form after the fact. If you want to tune in audio on Mondays and it's easier for you to do that, no problem. You can do that at any time. But again, we do appreciate everyone who's in here. And thank you to everyone in the chat. It's been very lively tonight and a lot of good information flowing. So do appreciate everyone there. Once more, I'd ask for everyone to please like the content if you can. Appreciate that very much if you could. And subscribe set notifications here on Forward Progress, as it does help us grow the channel. For Clive Bixby, for myself, Rob Pizzola, for our producer, who you don't see, but handles a lot of work and handles a lot of my shit around here, Jason Cooper. This has been Forward Progress here on the Forward Progress YouTube channel. Enjoy the rest of Sunday Night Football, and we will catch everyone this week. Peace.
Appreciate it.